welcome to yet another episode of the CaughtatPoint podcast, along with my co-podcaster Pranay Rangra. Today we are joined by a very special guest. His name is Navid Mahmud Khan. He joins us from Bangladesh. He's a bit of an anomaly in the cricketing system because he lives in Bangladesh, but he's a diehard Australia supporter. You can't call him anti-national. Please don't do that. Don't go that way. A very bright cerebral brain who follows cricket and has written on multiple publications, the likes of which include Sports Kira, Sports Cafe, um, and a little known website known as CaughtatPoint as well. Navid, welcome to the show, man. It's been brilliant to have you today with us.
Yeah, thank you, Dev. Thank you for the wonderful introduction.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. So Navid, I'll first of all start with a very grilling and a very daunting question. How young were you when the Australians started sledging in the game?
I think I wasn't even born.
Okay. Dear Australians, don't mind, we love you. But yeah, on to more serious
No.
things. My first basic question is, and you and I have been interacting for a while now. I've often asked you the same thing which you have asked me in the context of West Indies, the love and passion. I want to ask you that what's the fascination with Cricket Australia, and when did it begin, and how did it take shape?
So it basically started from the 1999 World Cup, the one in England. And
Right.
I was around 3 or 4 years old kid,
Really?
and I remember the final. Yeah. So everyone in my house, my relatives, my cousins, everyone gathered in my house to watch the final, which was Australia versus Pakistan at Lord's. So I remember my entire house was supporting Pakistan. You know, this Asian love, Asian
Right.
neighbors and stuff. So
Right.
I fell in love for Australia because I wanted to support the other team, the opposite team. That's one point why I liked them. The second point was I like the kit color, the gold and green. And the 1999 kit was phenomenal too. You know, the one with stars and yellow and green. So
Absolutely.
that's two of the reasons why I started without even knowing what cricket was.
Okay.
So that's a story. And the next day, there were newspapers, there were TV headlines everywhere. They were talking about how Australia thrashed Pakistan, and it was such a sad day for Asian cricket lovers and this and that. And from then, my love actually started. And it was later, after 4 years, in the 2003 World Cup, I actually started watching cricket, and that was my first tournament as a cricket watcher. And I looked into the Australian team, and I immediately fell in love with Ricky Ponting. And eventually, he played that blinder in the final against India. And yeah, so basically, that's how I became an Aussie fan.
Right. Let me just tell our viewers one thing that our guest on the other side of the screen has written a very beautiful and a very poignant tribute to Ricky Ponting, which you can read on Core Point. I'll be putting the link of that article later when the podcast releases to the wider public. Pranay, why don't you dive in?
So, hi Navid, welcome to the CaughtatPoint podcast.
Yeah,
So,
hi Pranay.
so tell me, how did it feel when Australia beat us in the 2003 World Cup final? And us for us as Indians, like, I know he's a West Indian fan and I'm a South African supporter, but us for
Yeah.
us is India. Yeah.
It was a bittersweet memory for me because I used to like India back then because my mom's from India. She's from Assam, and so I liked
Oh,
India back then. I liked the light blue Indian team led by Saurav Ganguly. I liked Zahir Khan. I like those bunch of players, and I actually like the Indian cricket team next to Australia. And the fact that these two teams were playing the final was something huge for me. But I supported Australia, of course, and it felt a bit bittersweet. But having having to see Ricky Ponting play that blinder, followed by a very good bowling performance from the Aussies, everything was pretty good. I loved it.
and 4 years hence when they played in the Caribbean, the final then.
Then they won the
Final.
toss. It was different. They were back to whacking again.
Yeah, this time it was Adam Gilchrist.
So,
But
so before you get
uh,
on to that, so how deep were you into the Australian team by the 2007 World Cup?
was pretty deep. I was like into the deepest deep, you know. I was following cricket a lot back then.
So,
Mhm.
what was your reading about their performance in the 2007 World Cup?
2007 World Cup, I think they were next to invincibles. I'd say 2003 they were the most invincible, and 2007 was next to invincible. And you know they won both of the World Cups unbeaten without losing a single match. And I think that says a lot about how incredible the teams were back then. Under the leadership of Ricky Ponting, then with Adam Gilchrist as his vice captain, and Matthew Hayden opening, Glenn McGrath with the ball, Brett Lee with the pace. Everything was phenomenal.
A keeper like
But
Aaron Gilchrist who would walk off even in the biggest of matches, knowing that he'd nicked it.
yeah, the semi-final where he walked. Yeah. But I wasn't actually pleased with the ending of the 2007 World Cup. I believe it could have ended better. With the controversy of with the lights, whether play should go on or not. At one point, they left the field and then came back again and then completed the match. I mean, the ending could have been better. Not the most satisfying of endings.
I remember how old this episode is. It's like 14 years back in time. There was a time when I was actually studying seriously, that too for an advertising course, Pranay, which you would know. And I just
You
went
were
to
serious
sleep,
that
and
time.
then I was always serious when I was joking, but I slept. And next day in the newspapers, I saw that the Australians won it and Sri Lankans had no chance. But I'm glad that Sri Lanka made it to the finals, and the host West Indies were nowhere near close to making it. But now, tell me one thing: Ricky Ponting has been a brilliant batsman. There is no two ways about it. There's no other batsman in the game who comes to my mind, or for that fact to any other's mind, who can play the pull shot from the front foot. But what else is it about Ponting? A very fiery character, we know that on the pitch when he was, which appealed to you and which made you a fan of his.
Particularly his captaincy, the way he set his fields and also his press conferences, how he could divert attention from one player or one of the flaws of his team and direct the entire controversies or questions at himself and go there to defend his teammates. That's what caught me very well. And also his batting, of course, the trigger movement, the cover drives, of course, the pull, which got named Ponting pull, as well as the hooks, how he used to play express fast bowlers. He used to pull them off his front foot, and then
That was
he used to drive them straight. How he used to make a statement while batting. Even when he left the ball, he did it with a statement. I mean, not as ecstatic as Stephen Smith, but still very, like commanding. His leaves were commanding as well.
Mhm.
So, Navid, what do you think about Ricky Ponting and the way he mentored youngsters? Like, because when he was in the pinnacle of his career, there was a young Mikey Clarke, there was Mitchell Johnson, there was Sean Tate. So, how did you see the transition from the Australia, the Invincibles, to the next generation? And what role did Ricky Ponting play in that?
Yeah, I think the transition didn't go too well. I think after the 2007 World Cups, when the big legends, the big names retired, Australia were in a huge loss. I mean, they couldn't fulfill the boots left behind by the big guys. They tried and tested many players, but nothing was working. They tried Phil Jakes at one point. They tried many spinners after Shane Warne, Michael Bay, Nathan Horwitz, John Holland, many of the guys, but they all they kind of failed. They didn't actually put their hands up after Shane Warne. I think he didn't really mentor his youngsters very well. I think partly that's because he didn't get to play with them a lot because, the invincible Australia, there were hardly any rooms for youngsters or newcomers. They always stuck to their core group of players and they used to get them the wins. So the youngsters didn't get much time to get mentored under him. But he did mentor Michael Clarke, Michael Ossie. These guys he mentored pretty well. But after his retirement, there was a huge void, not only with the batting, but also with the captaincy. As you know, Michael Clarke told in his autobiography, he was never really interested in taking the captaincy job. It was more like a reluctant take after Ponting had retired. Like he had to take it, so he took it. Michael Clarke was never really into captaincy. So I think, yeah, he could have done a better job at, the grooming the youngsters.
But Navid, speaking about Michael Clarke, as you said, he was a reluctant captain, but he still won a World Cup, the 2015 World Cup. So why don't you throw some light there? Your
exactly.
fifth triumph as an Australian supporter, your fifth World Cup, right? 1987,
Yep.
99, 2003, 7 and 15.
Yeah, Michael Clarke, although I said he was a reluctant captain, but he was really good captain. I think he was better captain than Ricky Ponting. He was more attacking. He was more creative in his thinkings. And of course, he had a much less competent team compared to Ricky Ponting. And he achieved pretty good heights. He defeated South Africa in 2014, that series, and they became the #1 test team in the world. And of course, the 2015 World Cup win, that was big as well. He also won a lot of test series. I think one in West Indies comes to mind where Michael Clarke decided to declare, even though his team was trailing, just so because he can attack and then attack them in the fourth innings. So I think that was a highlight of his attacking captaincy. I really enjoyed Michael Clarke's captaincy, perhaps more than Ricky Ponting's, because I think Michael Clarke was more attacking, more creative, and more, more aggressive, I'd say. And his batting was stylish too. He was really on song with the bat when he was the captain. He was making double tons, triple tons for fun, at that one stage. So yeah, that's about Michael Clarke. But he did get into some controversies as well. Something with Shane Watson. He did get into some controversies regarding the Shane Watson issue, where he called Shane Watson a tumor, and they had to remove him because if you let a tumor stray, it's gonna get into a cancer. So I think that was pretty childish thing to say, and it hit his image quite a big. It laid a big dent on his image. Yeah.
My favorite moment of Michael Clarke was when he deliberately decided to declare the innings, having matched Sir Donald Bradman against India. And the fact that he could have easily gone on to even break the great Brian Lara's record, given the menacing form he was in, and he chose not to do so.
So I have one question for you. Did you watch the 1999 semi-final, the tied semi-final between Australia and South Africa? What's your thought?
To be honest with you, I didn't sleep for 5 days after that because I'm a diehard South African supporter and I've been supporting them since I think the late 90s. So I was in my 10th standard then, and I was so depressed I couldn't get sleep for the next 5 days. I mean, that sight of Donald just looking at the mid-off fielder and not running, and Klusner running to him, haunted me for the next 5 nights. Because I thought that was the best chance we had to make a final and possibly win the World Cup. So it was that.
That's the closest they ever came.
Yeah.
They had a phenomenal side.
God,
they had a pretty good side.
Even when Grant Elliott hit Dale Steyn for a 6 in the 2015 World Cup. So I was working then, and I got so pissed that I didn't go to office for the next 4 days.
That's
So
a bit too much.
about the 90.
You missed
Sorry?
office for 4 days.
Yeah, I didn't go to office
You
after
missed
that.
the office for 4 days.
I was so dejected.
Didn't you get penalized
I'm
or
going to
something?
write an essay on lack of productivity.
No, man. I worked it out through my casual leave.
Okay, that's cool.
Awesome.
So whose fault do you think it was? Was it Alan Donald's fault or was it Lance
Yeah.
Klusener?
So
Who
I
do you
would think
blame?
it was Alan Donald's fault because he should have just listened to the striker's call and just made the run. Because Klusner was at the batting end, he had the judgment of where he had hit the ball. So as they say, when a striker calls you, you should just run. And Donald was just caught ball watching. So I would definitely put the blame on Donald because Klusner had got us so close, and Donald as a non-striker to just run, and he had to just trust Lance Klusner. And if he would have ran at the right time, no Navid, he would have made that single. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah, I too think that he could have made it.
He would
could
have
have
made
made
it
it.
for sure because he should have just trusted Klusner. But anyway, such was the case. Yeah.
Which was
So
more
Navid,
devastating, the 1999 semi-final or the 2015?
Navid, I was in a very different frame of mind on both the occasions. Like 99, I was just a kid. So the way I saw cricket was like, I just need to break the TV. There was passion, but I was a little immature in terms of reacting. And in the 2015 World Cup, it was just like, someone had just taken my soul away from my body. That's the feeling I got because on both those occasions, I sort of felt that South Africa has a perfect chance of lifting the trophy, whether be it with Hansi Cronje or whether be it with AB de Villiers. But such was the case. And on those two occasions, I genuinely feel that we've choked. And on certain other occasions, we've been unfortunate, like the 92 World Cup. And where you just have random asking rates suddenly because of
Yeah, the rain literally robbed them. Got robbed.
So
I think
Navid,
Dave's
tell
volume
me,
is back. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is. I've just taken a throat medicine for it and given one to the computer too. The doctor would understand. So tell me, did you feel dejected at what you saw recently in the series outcome against Bangladesh? That was a bit surprising.
Not really. I called it before the series that they're gonna lose 3-2 or 4-1. Yeah. So
finally they lost 4-1, right?
Yeah, they lost 4-1.
Which is their second T20 loss of such magnitude, having been defeated
Yeah,
by
they were
the
beaten
West
by.
Indies.
But Navid, tell me, in their defense, in Australia's defense, they didn't really have any players of much note, right? There was no Aaron Finch.
Yeah.
There was no Mitchell Stark.
Mitchell Stark was there, but he
Mitchell
just
Stark was
played
there.
two or three games, and then he was
But
dropped or rested.
they had a understand team, right?
Yeah, it was a subpar team. They were mainly experimenting with the new guns. They were trying to blood some new talent. Finch wasn't there. David Warner wasn't there. Stephen Smith, Glenn Maxwell, Marcus Stoinis, then Pat Cummins, Kane Richardson, Jai Richardson. They were all rested. They didn't come on tour, and the ones that came here were very poor against spin. I mean, even the senior batters like Matthew Wade, Alex Carey, Moses Enriques, they couldn't. Mitchell Marsh, they had literally no answer for Bangladeshi spinners. I mean, the pitch was very spin friendly. It was low. It had no bounce, low, slow. Like a very heavily doctored wicket, what I call it. And they had no answers for Bangladesh. Yeah.
So tell me, Navid, do you think in the shortest version of the game, should you have these doctored pitches or should you have more conducive pitches to bat and ball, which can see better scores?
Yeah, I definitely like more sporting wickets, the ones that have a fair balance between the bat and the ball. I definitely like those, but T20 isn't really my cup of tea. I couldn't care any
So
less about the format.
I second you on that, man. I totally second you on that.
Yeah,
I think so does Dave.
yeah, he told me that too. I call
Yeah.
it Mickey Mouse format.
No, I mean, as far as the freelancing T20 leagues are concerned, I couldn't care any less myself. But definitely, when there are editions like the World Cup happening, I don't find the need to make fun of T20 simply because it's about adaptability in that format at that level, which is like the mother of all sporting battles. Also, because I'm a bit biased that the West Indies men and women's team both lifted the World Cup once, but definitely there is no paucity of no dearth of cash-rich T20 leagues mushrooming all over the world, so much so that you tend to forget the names of teams and sometimes which player represents what league. There is a Caribbean Premier
Mhm.
League. There is it's like the carnival for the West Indians. There's a Bangladesh Premier League. Now you have PSL. Now you have Kashmir Premier League of all names. That's the name they have chosen for it. And IPL, of course. But what's surprising is that there are like two sides to the coin. While it has definitely birthed new talents who have gone on to represent, for example, Team India, who one may not have uh, gotten a chance to see, uh, I think it has hurt seriously the patience and aptitude required to perform in the other two formats. I think patience in an age of wham bam strike rates and soaring run rates is still very much the virtue without which you can't contest rather in test cricket. That's what I believe. These are my humble 2 cents.
I think that's what
I
even
think it
Navid
is.
was trying to say. From a purist perspective, I don't think they're the ones to consume T20 cricket. Not in the sense to make fun of it. A World Cup is definitely a good occasion to watch, but in terms of enjoying the 5 day format, as you rightly said, T20 doesn't fit in that scheme of things from our list.
Yep, correct. Very much it. I wish there wasn't. I wish T20 was banned from the international arena altogether. Just keep it to the domestic franchise leagues and remove it from international cricket. That would
But
have been better, I
unfortunately,
think.
Navid, that's
Wow.
that's the card that draws you the maximum revenue. So, and
Yeah,
increasingly,
yeah, yeah.
cricket is headed towards being a more revenue generation sport than actually enjoying purity of the game, so to speak.
So I'm saying that if we were to take away T20 cricket from the international, would get to play because they don't play test matches, right? There's hardly any ODI contests that they are a part of. So I really think that T20 needs to stay, but it does not need to become the trump card to promote cricket and take it to geographies where it is very, very new and nascent. That's the only point I'm trying to make.
I think your connection seems a little better. You can turn your camera on. Navid, what do you think
You
on
get that?
what David just said?
I think he is correct. I think although how much it doesn't matter how much I want T20s to be gone, but it is here to stay. It's not going to go away anytime soon or anytime for that matter, because it draws money. It draws, most importantly, it draws more fans into the grounds.
Yeah, yeah.
You can see the attendance of the Big Bash League or the IPL and compare it with Test matches or ODI matches. The attendance is much greater in T20s than compared to tests or one days. And also it attracts the kids more than compared to the other two formats. So I think T20 is here to stay. But just like what Dave said, it shouldn't be the trump card of cricket.
Navid and Dave, what gives me hope is that when I see a test match in England and I see the amount of crowds that come in to watch, say, a game at Lord's or the Oval, that's so magnanimous as compared to the amount of people that turn out, say, in a test match in India. So I still have the belief that cricket in England is still rightfully dictated by the purity of Test cricket, because you would see a packed stadium even for a Test match, as compared
Yeah.
to
You're correct
about
on that.
about
Australia as
2,000
well.
or
Australia as
3,000
well. They get
supporters. Yeah, even in Australia.
yeah, they get huge
Even for
attendance
that
for
matter
test
in
matches.
South Africa, when they have their Boxing Day test or the New Year test, they have a lot of supporters coming in. But somehow in India, I don't see that kind of turnouts. In fact, the kind of turnout
Yeah,
you see for a T20 match or a ODI match, you don't see that kind of turnout for a test match. But at least I'm glad that it's better in countries like England, as you said, Australia and South Africa. What do
that's
you
the
think,
same
Dave?
story in Bangladesh, Pakistan, and
It's
all the Asian
somehow
countries basically.
it's a Asian country.
Yeah, okay. So what were you asking? You were asking about the Australian
Saying
cricket team. Yeah.
where do you see the Australia? I mean, if I were to ask you, what chances do you see Australia having the T20 World Cup, the upcoming T20 World Cup? With the side that they have, obviously the main stars will be back. So where do you see them? How do you see them perform in the UAE?
I don't suppose they are going to do very well. I see them crashing out of the group stages. I think England and West Indies are going to go through from their group. They are very good as
So you don't
T20
see South
side.
Africa also come.
South Africa, they're all in the same group, aren't they?
Yeah. We are in a group
I
of
think
death.
I
Australia, England,
yeah,
South Africa, and West Indies.
West Indies. I think the West Indies and England are the two best teams from that group, and I think they're going to go through.
I'm not
Australia
sure about the
do
West
have.
Indies. I don't know about the West Indies though, but for sure South Africa and England definitely. And of course, it's easy pickings from the other group, India and
But
New Zealand. But I beg to
guys, you'll
differ.
be surprised that if Australia has their full strength team, they're pretty good. They're very capable. So I would still give a chance to Australia, England for sure.
Yeah, they have a habit of churning out in the big occasions, so
Yeah, exactly.
they
In
might. I don't know, but on pen and paper and
multi-team
going with
tournaments.
statistics, yeah.
Mhm.
But going with recent form, they didn't look like they are going to go through.
Yeah, but that could
Plus,
also
I
be
think.
because they are an under par team as we speak, right?
Yeah,
Plus,
you've got
Pranay,
a
I
point
think
there.
it's about time that Finch picks up his form, because there's been a huge dearth of runs from his end, and I think
Yep.
that's going to be a key role. If I'm audible now, I don't know.
Yeah. So Navid,
Yeah,
the
you are
other
audible.
question that's plaguing everyone's mind is, who do you see as Australia's test captain now that Tim Payne has hung up? Surely Steve Smith is not coming back into the reckoning, right? Or do you see him make a comeback as a captain?
I think that he is going to be the next captain. I think so, because I have heard Justin Langer talk positively about him becoming the next captain, and I think it will be a good decision, because the other captaincy option is Pat Cummins. And I'm not the biggest fan of giving your captaincy to bowlers, because I believe bowlers in Test cricket need to be given rests. So he needs to miss a match here or there. In that case, we have to look for a stand-in captain, which is not the most ideal of situations. So I'd say give the captaincy to Stephen Smith. He has got the highest probability of playing all the matches. So I'd give the captaincy to him.
What about Marnus Labuschagne?
I don't think he has really captained much in his first-class career or
Would you consider
domestic career.
at least he's a certain
No, not
team?
really.
He's asking that because he's a South African, Marnus
No.
Labuschagne.
Labus Sakne in Afrikaans. No, that wasn't the intent. But I had read somewhere that he could also be in the reckoning for captaincy.
I read it too.
Yeah, he could be, but I don't think he is as of now. he needs to captain the first 5 sides at first, and then based on what he does there, then he'll come through the ranks. I think the Stephen Smith's going to be the captain, and his vice captain might be Travis Head. I think Travis Head. Or if Carey comes into the team, then Carey becomes the vice captain after Tim Payne.
Yeah. Tell us quickly your all-time top 5 Australian cricketers.
Top 5, you mean bowlers, batsmen mixed, or just the batsmen?
Yeah,
just
everyone,
the bowlers?
everyone.
Anything.
Bowler, batsmen, fielders, whoever you.
I'll say based on who I got to see. Okay, so that would be for the opening. I choose Gilchrist and Hayden, of course. I mean, based considering that this is a limited overs cricket format. If it's Test cricket, I'm going to go with Justin Langer and Matthew Hayden, then Ricky Ponting. And for two bowlers, and if there's 2 bowlers, I have to go with Glenn McGrath and Shane Warne. Yeah.
Yeah. Thought as much. All right. So I think we are heading towards a close of this episode where we had some enlightening views on Australian cricket by a very bright cerebral mind, as I said at the starting.
Before you end it, Navid, one last question. Do you see Australia conquering England in the upcoming match? Or do you see a vice versa?
Let me answer the first question first. For the vice versa, there is England coming over to Australia and beating Australia. I don't think it's happening anytime soon. At least not this year. I don't think England are good enough to beat Australia at home. They certainly don't have the, bowlers to do it like India did, because India had some very good bowling options. But English bowlers, they don't really thrive in Australian conditions. We've seen how Jimmy Anderson, who's literally the GOAT in English conditions, he gets smacked all over the place in Australia. Stuart Broad, he's okay in Australia, but I wouldn't say he's much of a threat. As for Ollie Robinson, I don't think he is going to shine much in Australia. Mark Wood, though,
also, right?
Yeah, he is still new. I think Mark Wood might do good with his pace, and they are going to miss Jofra Archer.
He's out for the entire year. That's right.
Yeah. He's got a stress fracture in his elbow.
Yeah. Okay.
And as for Australia going over to England and beating them, I think that's a possibility. Yeah. I think that is a possibility, given that their batsmen bat more sensibly. They have the bowling to do it. The only concern is their batting. If they can somehow find someone else to complement Stephen Smith, I think they're in for a good chance.
What do you, Dave? Parting words for Navid? You have about
why don't you go ahead? Yeah, why don't you go ahead?
Navid, any parting words?
I don't really have much to say, guys. Just I feel honored to be in this show with both of you guys. I bet both of you are very good, very experienced cricket watchers in general and know a lot about the game. So I think it is absolute honor for me to share the stage with you two, although virtually, but still, yeah. And thanks for giving me the opportunity, guys.
If I can compel you to continue writing for CaughtatPoint, that's going to be excellent.
I will. Awesome. Not leaving CaughtatPoint anytime soon.
All right. So, guys, it was a fantastic episode today with one of the cerebral thinkers on the game, one extremely devoted to Australian cricket, somebody who doesn't think or pause for a second, even if it's Bangladesh playing Australia, because we know where his allegiance and love for the game lies. Until we come back again, this is Pranay Rangra and Dave Tyagi, your hosts of the CaughtatPoint podcast, signing off. And Navid, thank you for your time today. We'll hope to catch you soon again another time. See you guys.
Thank you, Navid.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Cheers.
Bye.